Welcome, guys, to episode 6 of this podcast series. I've been really looking forward to this one because in front of me is Noah Johnston. What's going on, man? How are you doing?
What is up, my man? I'm doing great. Super excited for this opportunity and happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've really been looking forward to this since you accepted to come on. For people that don't know you, can you give an introduction of yourself, what you're doing, and how you've gotten to this point?
Yeah, so I'm Noah Johnston. I'm from a small town in northern Utah called Smithfield. Um, and right now I'm wholesaling and flipping. I have a wholesaling and flipping company. And then I also coach and mentor other new entrepreneurs that are getting started in the real estate side of things and helping them get their wholesale deals, get fix and flips, and grow their businesses. Um, and that's about what I do. I love personal development. I love fitness. Just trying to do everything I can to become the best version of myself. I said that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Just kind of doing it all.
Yeah. So your Instagram page, your bio, it says broke at 21, right? What
Yep.
is that story? I mean, like what was kind of getting to that point, or where were you at? If you could kind of walk us through that to now, right? You're
Yeah.
doing a lot of successful things in business and with real estate.
When you just asked that question, it just gave me chills. I love opportunities like this because I don't have a lot of time to just sit down and reflect on the past. So it's cool to be able to share my story so other people can see, like what's possible. That's all I hope out of this. So 20 years old, 21 years old, I was just freaking lost. My family, all the older generations, they're saying I need to go to college. I need to get a safe job and work for somebody for the rest of my life. That's the route that everyone in my family took, my parents, grandparents, from all the generations. And I just realized there was something more out there. There's more out there for me. And so I was going to college at the time. I was wanting to be an orthodontist. I was in it just for the money because I thought at the time that like making, 200, $300,000 a year was like living the dream, you know? And so I was like, okay, I want to be an orthodontist. I was doing chemistry and biology classes, and I was like, I cannot continue with this for 12 more years. So the next semester came around. I started business classes, and I opened up my eyes to the business world and being an entrepreneur. And so that's why I started getting into a lot of other businesses. I tried e-commerce, drop shipping, Shopify, Amazon FBA, all that stuff. But then I realized all my professors were talking about business and they never started their own business. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I'm like, okay, maybe this college thing isn't for me. So I just kind of dove all into um, watching podcasts, reading books, watching YouTube, getting as much information as I could, trying to surround myself with other entrepreneurs and seeing what was out there. And so at this time, I decided college wasn't for me. My parents wouldn't let me drop out though, because they're like, you have no other option. You're not doing anything else. So I was just trying to find some ways to make money. I was trying everything. And I came across a TikTok video of this thing called wholesaling real estate. And they were saying, oh, you can do it with no cash, no credit, any age, you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have a license, you just have to be willing to put in the work. And I'm like, okay, I'm willing to put in the work. And so I started. I'm like, I gave up so many times in the past with other businesses. I I didn't make $1 million in a month like all the gurus claimed you could. And I'm like, all right, then I'm giving up. But on this one, it was different. I was like, okay, I will not give up. I'm going to do everything I can to get my first deal. And then from there, we'll reevaluate. I don't care if it takes a month, a year, or 10 years. So I get started with that. And I'll admit, I was kind of half-assing it from the beginning. Um, and that's when I was about 21 years old, 22 years old. And I was sitting in my parents' basement and I'm looking at my bank account to see if I could even go fill up my truck with gas. And I was just penny pinching. And I look at my bank account, it's red, it's negative. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is my last straw. I'm done worrying about money. I'm sick of this. Because I saw on Instagram all these other people, they're driving their dream trucks, they're doing all these things. I'm like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. And that's when just the flip switched for me. I'm like, I'm going all in. I'm giving everything I have to this. And so I was still going to college at the time. I was still working another job. The other job I was working was funding my wholesaling for all my marketing and my softwares. I hired some friends. I was going to pay them commission. So I was to do the cold calling. I was trying to get as many fishing lines in the water to catch as many fish as I could. And I came across my first deal. My first deal, I ended up partnering with this guy on it. We flipped it and we made $64,000 cashed out at 22 years
Holy
old.
smokes.
And I was like, all right, I'm glad I didn't give up on myself. But that whole process took a year and a half from when I first got started with wholesaling. And that's a whole nother story and lesson in itself there. But I stuck to it for a year and a half, closed that first deal. Me and that guy that did that deal together, we ended up partnering up. And then here we are today. Our business is a 7-figure business, and we're closing deals left and right now.
That's insane. I
Yep.
love that story, man. You know what I think is hard too is on Instagram. There's a lot of gurus in a lot
Yeah.
of different industries, and it's
Yep.
like the shiny object syndrome. Where
Yep.
even for me, I'm like, dude, starting now, I'm gonna be a day trader because they're driving like supercars in Miami, and that's what I'm gonna do. I was
Yep.
about to pay for a course, and I'm like, man, I don't think that's me. Like, I think you just see the shiny object, you're like, oh, I want to do this, but it sounds like you're grateful that you found real estate and then you focused on that, and it sounds like you went all in on just finding the thing that you enjoy doing,
Yep.
and kind of just going all in on that.
Yep. And
So yeah, go for it.
and that's a lesson I had to learn too. Is I've had a big problem with the shiny object syndrome. When I first got started in the business world and entrepreneur world, I was literally trying everything. I was just dabbling in everything. And if you just dabble in everything, you're not going to get results from anything. You have to go all in on something. And then even after we were wholesaling and flipping a lot, and our business was doing great, I kept having seeing all these other videos. And I'm like, oh, I could start making money in this thing or in this thing. And then my energy and focus went away from the wholesaling and flipping business. And so what happens with that? Our lead flow starts going down, our revenue starts going down, and then I had to learn the lesson of like, all right, I can't be focusing on all this stuff. I can't spread out my energy everywhere. I got to go all in on this one thing, and that's what's produced the best results.
I love that. For people that might not know too, what is wholesaling real estate? If you could kind of sum it up.
Oh, great question. I probably should have said that from the beginning.
I
So
forgot to until this point. I'm like, oh,
yeah, so the traditional route, if everyone knows what fix and flipping is, so we do a lot of fix and flips as well, but we're the wholesaling. You're basically the middleman to line up a seller of a property with another fix and flipper. So wholesaling, we find distressed properties, distressed sellers. We negotiate the property at a discount, and then we turn around and line that property up with another end cash buyer that may be a fix and flipper, a buy and holder. So we're just lining up good off market discounted properties, lining that up with other fix and flippers that are looking for investment opportunities.
I love it.
Yep.
And a question I have with that too is what kind of setbacks have you seen, in that business model or with what you've been doing?
The hardest part is just finding motivated sellers. That's so many people get into this industry and think that they can close their first deal in a week or even a month. But the hardest part is finding those motivated sellers. That's the biggest setback. And so it's just having the work ethic and the dedication to keep working day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year to go out there. This is a business where unless you have a full team working under you and it's a 7, 8 figure, 9 figure business, that's when maybe you can sit back a little bit. But you have to be all hands on. You have to be full steam ahead every single day. And that's the thing. A lot of people just don't have what it takes.
Yeah,
It's just like expecting to go to the gym and say you want to have a six pack and you go for one day and you don't have a six pack and you're like, all right, I give up. So that's the setback that a lot of people have in this industry. But if you can have just the resiliency and kind of just be like a bull in a china shop, nothing's going to stop you. Nothing's going to stop you. and you go all in on it, you can be successful in wholesaling or anything that you want in life.
100%. You know what I like about your content too, following you on Instagram, is that you're not just posting like the highlights, but I think you're pretty real and genuine. Where like it's not easy, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And like you can see the other side of business and being an entrepreneur, maybe working for yourself. Like it might not be for everybody, and you're not just going to experience like the sunshine and rainbows.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
something I saw too when I was looking on your account is you said at 15 you were diagnosed with some pretty serious stuff. I know
Yeah.
this might be switching gears, but I kind of wanted to ask you about that. I mean, what was that like, and what were you diagnosed with?
Yeah, so that was a pretty hard time in my life. I'm 14, 15 years old coming into high school. I was very athletic all growing up. I was playing football, basketball, baseball. And so, every guy's dream is going into high school and being the superstar. And that's what I wanted, and at 14, about 14, 15 years old, I had some really bad foot problems. Like my feet were always hurting. I kept breaking them. So I go into the doctor, go into a specialist here in Salt Lake, and they're running a bunch of tests on me. They don't know what's wrong. I finally get lined up with this one doctor, and he's like, "Hey, you have this nerve condition called CMT, and on top of that, you also have scoliosis." Um, and so he's like, with CMT, so it's called Charcot-Marie tooth. It's a nerve problem where I have nerve damage in my lower legs, so like from the knees down, and I have it in my hands. And so he's like, you're not going to be able to run. You're not going to be able to do anything where you have to be fast. You can't be playing baseball or basketball or football. And so hearing that as a little kid, I'm like, I'm going to be nothing in life. All my hopes and dreams, everything I wanted to do, are just shot down the toilet. And it's a pretty severe thing. A lot of people end up in wheelchairs. And so that's the time in my life where he said the one thing that you can do is you can build up muscle, because another problem with it is I have a really bad nerve damage, but also I have the muscle degenerates over time. Um, so my muscles, especially my legs and my feet, they just keep getting weaker and weaker. So he's like, you could start going to the gym to kind of counteract that. And that's when I fell in love with the gym and got a huge passion for that. It's because it's kind of something that I have to do, just to be able to keep walking. And then since then, at 15 years old, I had my first foot reconstruction. So completely reconstructed my foot, cut out sections of my heel, put plates and screws in there, flattened out my foot. And then I was thinking we were just going to have one surgery, and then six more surgeries later, um, here I am, and I'm still going to have more in the future. So now my feet are full of plates and pins and screws. I've had bone transplants. I had a toe amputated. Um,
Wow.
but that's one thing where a lesson that I learned from that is to, a lot of us have stories, our story, our past. And it's not about, we are not our past. We are who we are today. Whether it's mistakes you've made, a chronic disease, health disease that you have, or whether you grew up with in generations of poverty or generations of obesity, whatever it may be that you grew up with, whatever your story was, it doesn't have to be your story. You can write your own story today. You can be the character that you want to be. And that's when it kind of taught me, because for this whole time, all these doctors, they're like, you're not going to be able to build muscle. You're not going to be able to ever be toned. And I don't know if you've seen my recent pictures. I'm feeling pretty good. Every time I go to the doctor, they're like, how are you getting so big and muscly? And it's like, because you said I couldn't, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at your content and whatnot, I had no clue. You wouldn't be able to tell looking at you. I'm like, hey, this is someone just really getting after it in the gym. Like you're in great shape. Obviously, why didn't you let that stop you? Like you had those excuses, and if doctors are telling you, what the deal is, why didn't that stop you then?
Because I just have this something wired in my brain where when people tell me I can't do something, I just have to go out and do it. Um, And not only other people telling me I can't do it, but I feel like a big problem in society is we have these limiting beliefs. Is we can't think. We think that we can't do a lot of things. And so for a lot of my life, when people told me I couldn't do things, I took that very personally. I'm like, all right, they told me I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. Right? They told me I can't drop out of college, so I dropped out of college. They told me I couldn't start my own business, so I started my own business. They told me I can never get a wholesale deal at 22 years old. I got a wholesale deal at 22 years old. So this whole time, when people tell me I can't do something, I just got to go out and do it, and not necessarily to prove them wrong, but so I can prove to myself that I'm him, I'm that man. I'm gonna I'm gonna do it. Um, and because for a long time in my life, when hard things came or when hardships came into my life, I'd always run away from those things. It always scared me. I'd get too fearful, and it just started flipping in my brain that script, that perspective of okay, when hard things start happening, I'm going to start doing all the hard things that I can because in that I can get the growth that I've been seeking my whole life. And so I started with just small things of doing the hard stuff. They're like, okay, the gym's going to be hard. You're not going to have a lot of strength. I started doing that. And then the strength started to get built up, and that pain, the hard stuff, just became easier. And so I just kept doing that, started to do a bunch of things like that, and it's led me to where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's just not common today. I really don't think. And a lot of people, I think, are chasing after a comfortable lifestyle. Like, I'm in a job and I feel safe. Like, I just have to report to a boss and I go home, whatever it is, right? Like, what do you think your advice would be for people, to help them lean into discomfort? Because I think that's the only way that you can get results, and grow. And these like resolutions that we might have set, it's like, how else are you going to get these things? Right? Like, what would you tell someone that is struggling with just kind of getting into the discomfort?
Yeah, so this is actually just what I spoke on stage a couple weeks ago. Is my message was leaning into pain and discomfort because in that is the growth that you've been seeking your whole life. That's what my whole message was. And so it's just the rule of life. There is no light without darkness. There is no rainbows without rain. And it's like the story of the refiner's fire, right? We have to go through the fire, we have to go through extreme heat to burn out all the impurities. I love the analogy of a diamond. In order for a diamond to be what it is, it has to go under extreme pressure, extreme heat, and then it has to get cut up for it to come out perfect on the other side, like a diamond is. And so it's the same thing with us. The only way for us to become the best versions of ourselves, the only way for us to better our life, our finances, our family, our relationships, whatever it is that we want to better in our life, it has to come with hard times. It has to come with the pain. It has to come with the discomfort. Um, there's that saying, I'm probably going to slaughter it, but it's good times create weak men create, what is it? Oh,
Weak men create hard times, or
we got to find this. I got to pull this
it's going to be
up.
worth pulling it up. Yeah,
We
I
got
know
to
what you're
pull it
talking
up.
about.
Um, this is this is kind of the rule of life for everyone. All right, so it says, and so going back to it, why do we need to lean into discomfort? This here is the perfect explanation of why, because it says hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. And then the cycle just continues. So if you want to just have that comfortable life, if you want to just do what's easy and sit back and never lean into pain, never lean into discomfort, your life is going to be pretty shitty. It's going to be hard. It's going to be miserable. And I think that's why everyone is so miserable today is because they just want to go home and eat a bag of Doritos and watch TV all night long. You know, um, it's the same concept with the gym. Like if you think about it, we go to the gym to grow our muscles. The only way to grow the muscles is to inflict so much pain on the muscle that it literally tears and then it gets built back up stronger. Same thing with our brains. The only way for it to grow, the only way for us to become stronger and better is to go through so much pain, to go through so much discomfort that we come out like a diamond on the other side.
100%. I love that. You know what's funny too is I look at someone like you, or even where I feel like in my own life, I think I'm most happy when I'm like chasing something that seems so out of reach. And that like fuels me. compared
Yep.
to, I have like buddies or I know people, maybe coworkers, whatever it is, that they're probably watching Netflix right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I
Right.
think that, I look at you and you light up when you talk about that, and I think there's just purpose in, in fulfillment, in finding those things in your life that it's like, I'm gonna chase this, and I know it's gonna be worth it, right?
Yep. It's that again just gave me the chills. It's something that I live and die by. Is I find so much fulfillment in just seeing what I can accomplish. Like, what are my limits? What can I do? How hard am I going to be to kill? Like, how hard am I going to be to stop? And then I've realized, like, you can't stop me. You can't break me. Life has tried, and I know I'm only 25 years old. I'm still young. I have a whole life ahead of me. I'm not saying I've been through it all or I've learned it all, but life's thrown a lot of curveballs at me. I'm not saying my story is worse than anyone else's, but it's got me to the point many times where I didn't even want, to live another day. I didn't want to continue anymore. I thought that it was the end of the line. Um, but then finding that side of me of, all right, let's just see how hard I am to kill. Let's see how hard I am to stop. And I'm not going to stop. Let's see how much more I can do. I mean, my first year in business, this kind of cool story along the lines of this. My first year in business with my business partner and I were like, okay, let's set the goal for $100,000 this year. Because, everyone in their 20s, they're like, that six figures. We want to make that
Dude, you're
six
rich.
figures.
That you're rich.
Yeah,
That's
you're
what it was for me
rich.
too. That's six figures, bro. Like
At
that's
six
that's it. That's
figures.
wealth.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we set that goal, and within three deals, we had already hit it, And they're like, okay, we need to adjust it to 250. We hit 250. Then half a mil. We hit half a mil. All right, 750. We hit 750. And it just kept going. And
Wow.
that taught me a cool lesson right there is, for me, I thought it was going to be about the end goal. I thought it was going to, I was going to find all the joy and fulfillment in hitting that $100,000 mark, or hitting that half a million mark, or hitting that million mark. But I found that I feel the exact same when I make $100,000 to when I made a $500,000. It's the exact same feeling because I always want more. Now at $1 million, I want $2 million. Then I'm going to want $10 million. So I found for me that I'm not fueled by the end goal. I'm fueled by the person that I'm becoming, getting towards that end goal. Because each goal and milestone that I set, it gets harder and harder and harder, and it requires more and more and more. So as that time goes on, it's a lot harder times. I have to be a lot stronger mentally, physically, to be able to get through those things. So it's been cool to see the process of finding that fulfillment and just seeing who I can become, seeing if I can really be that best version of myself.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I felt the same way too. It's like the goalpost will keep moving.
Yep.
Um, but there's joy in that journey, I think for sure. So are you focusing on different, aspects at this point in your life then? I think at a pretty young age, you proved yourself like, hey, or maybe you showed yourself that you're capable of more than you would have thought earlier on. But are you kind of changing your focus at this point, or what kinds of things are you going to look to accomplish now?
That's great. So in my group, I teach everyone about the three M's: mindset, muscles, and money. That's kind of my focus with stuff. And I've realized that I needed to add some stuff onto that. So it's still going to be the mindset, doing everything I can to have a locked in mindset, and develop my mindset. Obviously, I love fitness. I love the muscle side of things. I'm always going to have a huge focus on that. It's one of my biggest passions. And then also, obviously, money, with my businesses, everything I'm doing. But I found that alone right there, it's great, but there's still been some things missing in my life. While doing all that and going full steam ahead on that, I lost sight of, creating that strong relationship with my family, and it ended up causing a divorce at a very young age, at 24 years old. And so I learned, okay, you know what? I need to really focus in on this, and I need to devote a lot of time to my family and to the relationship side of things. And then I was doing that, and it's been great. The relationship with my family, the relationship that I'm in right now, it's been better than ever. There was still something missing, and it was my relationship with God. And that's something I'm really focused on right now as well, is bettering my relationship with God, and trusting Him, having faith in Him, and doing everything I can to help um, spread His message as well. So that's kind of my focuses right now, is the mindset, muscle, money, family, and God.
Dude, I love that.
and where
I
I'm
love
at right
all
now.
those things. And I
Yeah,
think sometimes we can get out of balance, even with me.
yeah,
It's like, I mean, a lot of this stuff is dependent on how hard you work and what you do. You know that obviously. But for me, sometimes I forget that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, God's in control here. He's,
yep,
blessed us with maybe our talents that we have, that we've been given, our abilities. So I love that you talk about that.
yep,
And speaking of that too, when you're talking about your groups and the things that you help share with other people, you have grown in the role of being a mentor, right?
yeah.
And I wanted to ask, in general, like how has mentorship changed you in your life, like business life, personal life? How has that helped you to grow quicker?
I think that is probably the number one thing to have the success that you want. It is the quickest way to become successful. And when I first got started, man, everyone was preaching about mentors. Everyone was preaching about, getting a coach and things like that. And I thought it was the biggest bullshit. I was like, I'm not going to go pay someone. I can learn it all on my own. And a year and a half later, I still didn't have a deal. And I'm like, all right, I think it might be time to get a mentor. And that's when, who I consider a mentor is my business partner that I have now. He's, twice my age. He's been doing real estate for twice as long as I have. And so I reached out to him um, and this is another thing too, lesson in this is I didn't just reach out to him and say, hey, teach me everything for free. I want a bunch of handouts. When I came to him, I brought a deal to him. I brought a wholesale deal. And I said, hey, here's how I can provide value to you. Could you provide value to me and kind of walk me through the steps of how to take this deal from start to finish? He was a great mentor. Like I said, it took me a year and a half until I got my first deal. But once I got that first deal, 3 months into it, we were already making six figures a month. So
Wow.
that right there, I was like, okay, mentors are necessary. Um, and then as I was going through the business, I was like, okay, the money's good, but my mindset, it's still not in the right spot. I went through a really tough time when I went through a divorce where I got to a point where I wanted to take my life. Like I wanted to leave this world. I was like, this is it. I see no light at the end of the tunnel. And that very next day, I reached out to my mentor that I have now, Keaton Hoskins, named the Muscle. And I said, bro, I'm at the lowest spot of my life. I said, I need some freaking help. Will you please help me? He said, yeah, get into my one-on-ones. I'll be your mentor. And that was about a year ago. And I've been with him ever since. And the growth that I've had just in that past year since getting another mentor has been insane. I mean, I'm at a completely different spot. Like a year ago, I wanted to take my life. And just last week, now a year later, I was on stage with my mentor, speaking in front of all these people, sharing my story. My business is better than ever. My mindset's better than ever. My fitness is better than ever. And a lot of that is from a mentor. But also, you still have to put in the work. You still have to do all that. And with a mentor, it's such a cool concept because you can pay for their time that they've spent the last 20, 30 years or their whole life developing a skill, getting all this knowledge, and they've spent 20 years of mistakes and lessons. You can buy all that and have it instantly. You can pretty much fast forward or buy back 20 years of time by getting a mentor. And if people can just understand that concept and that switch can flip in their brain, a lot of people would get out of the rut that they're in and they'd have the success that they want. Um,
100%.
and I think that everyone needs to have a mentor. I think everyone needs to be in a community with like-minded individuals. And I also think everyone needs to have a mentee. I think it's great to be able to turn around and teach the skills and the knowledge that you're acquiring along the way. And now, if you're just starting out, I mean, you could just be a mentor for your siblings, right? Or for friends that are around you. It came to a point where, I was a couple of years into business. This was about a year and a half ago. And in this small town, there's not a lot of successful young guys. And so the people were seeing the stuff I was posting and seeing me driving around in a Raptor at 23 and all these things. And they're like, dude, how the frick are you doing it? And I'm like, oh, I do it, it's a thing called wholesaling. I helped a friend do it for free. He made, almost six figures off of two deals.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what? I should start helping other people do this. So another guy reached out to me and he's like, dude, what is it going to take? What do I need to do to learn what you're doing? And I'm like, okay, this could be really cool. And so he started paying me for my time to teach him how to make money in the business. Now he's been closing deals left and right. He's quit his 9 to 5. He's completely turned his life around. And then he saw how much it changed his life. And then he referred a friend over. And then it's grown to where I have about 10, well, right now, 13 to 15 guys that I mentor and help them go from where I was at, broke at 21, to having their own multi-million dollar business. So it's been
That's
pretty fun. It's been
huge.
pretty cool.
Yeah, and if that's one thing that people can take from this, if you don't have a mentor, that's huge.
Yep.
100%. In finding a community of people, and I think it's something that you shared, and one of the lessons learned is that no one's going to come to you and just like say, "Hey, I'm going to take you under my wing." And
Yeah.
I know I'm assuming no one's probably going to do that to you.
Nope. Nope.
And I like how you chase that and you sought that out, and until you found someone or people that would do that for you. And for
Yep.
people listening too, where can they find a mentor? Like if someone's listening to this and feels stuck, like where can you even find someone that's credible or that's been where you want to
Great.
be?
Great question. I think for me, it's get a mentor that has the lifestyle and the life that you want. And so I know that not every mentor is going to be relatable to every person. Not every person is going to be relatable to every mentor. So find that person who has the lifestyle that you want. The reason why I got, the muscle as my mentor is because I saw the relationship he has with his family, with his wife, with his children, with God, the way that he gives back. Obviously, the big house, the mansion on the hill, the helicopters, the cool cars. I wanted to just replicate everything that he's done. And so that's why I reached out to him. That's why the students and the mentees that are in my program, every single one of the guys that I mentor, I've never had paid ads, I've never run ads for it. They reach out to me because they see the lifestyle that I'm living and they want that. So I would just say for anyone listening to this that wants to find a mentor, is just find someone that you idolize. Find someone that whose life you would want to trade places with, and then just reach out to them. They don't even need to be an active mentor or an active coach. It could just be a guy that you want to learn from him and say, "Okay, how much can I pay you for your time?" And that's how you can do it.
Yeah. And I think what I've learned is people like giving back. Like you're saying, there's like a fulfilling aspect of it, of like, I've been where you are right now, and I would love to help you get there. Like if you're
Yeah,
serious about it, right?
yeah.
Like serious about changing your life.
And it's crazy. I honestly, when I got that first student, he even knows this. Like I went into it for the money. I was like, oh, this is cool and an awesome way that I could make some money. And then it turned into I saw that he went from being pretty much an alcoholic to not drinking a lot anymore. He went from going working the 9 to 5. He'd go home every single day and drink a 12 pack, and then he'd just sit there on the couch to turning to coming home from work and cold calling and working on his business and hitting the gym. And it started, he started thanking me for changing his life. His wife started thanking me for changing his life. His grandparents, everyone around him saw it. And I was like, whoa, like this is way bigger than I thought. And then the next student came and the next mentee came and more people that started to come. I was like, actually, I this is like one of my biggest passions. I mean, the mentoring side, the coaching side, it makes me the least amount of money and probably takes up the most amount of time. But I do find the biggest passion of helping people that are the younger version of me. I see that they're lost. I see that they need help. I see that they have no direction. They have no drive. And to be able to turn that around and completely flip their life around and put them in the direction of where I'm headed, and we're all in the direction together. It's been so awesome and so rewarding.
Yeah, and I see you light up when you talk about that. It's like the
Yeah,
money's great. I mean, you need that, but I think you're leaving a legacy and helping other people. That's just huge. That doesn't
yeah,
compare to anything else.
it
And
really
with
doesn't.
your mentoring too, and maybe just what you see today with younger people, what do you think is some of the biggest lies, or what's one of the biggest lies that we can tell ourselves, or that people that are that haven't gotten started yet tell themselves?
I think a huge lie that I've seen, and obviously we've been talking about this a lot, is I come across a lot of guys that I mentor and that I coach, and so the biggest lie that I've seen is a lie that I told myself when I first got started is like, I'm not good enough. I've had this life of just losses, and I've never really won at anything. I told I could never play sports at 14, 15 years old, and that's what I wanted to do. I had a lot of these things that happened in my life where I could never really win, and I'm like, okay, if I've never won yet, how the hell am I going to win in real estate? How am I going to be able to do that? That's a huge lie. A huge lie also told me is that, like, I did not have the confidence, to do that. A lot of people I see a problem is self-worth and self-confidence. Like, it's too in the dumps these days, and it's so sad to see. And also another lie is that, like, you are your story, you are your past. And that's something that it honestly just breaks my heart to see. And that's why I've been sharing my story a lot more, to show that no matter what your story is, no matter what your past is, no matter how you were raised, you can write your own story. Um, and then back to the lies that we say is that you're not good enough. You gotta cut that shit out. Anyone that's thinking that, like, hell yeah, you're good enough. If you even have this mindset of wanting to change your life or wanting to develop, like, you are doing what 1% of people in the world are willing to do. And then it's just betting on yourself, going all in on yourself. A lot of people look for external resources to help them with those lies, right? To help them get through those lies. But that's only going to come from within. And telling yourself that you're not your story. You can create the life that you want. You can be the character that you want. And getting through
Yeah.
those limiting beliefs. A lot of people, young people think, I'm only 20 years old, 21 years old. How am I going to make $100,000 in a year? How am I going to make $250,000 in a year? So many people have these limiting beliefs that's been passed down from generations. And so breaking through those limiting beliefs, I think, is one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves. And if you can break through those and realize that you can seriously make however much money you want to make, you can look as however the hell you want to look. You can have a relationship, however good of a relationship you want to have, right? Whatever you want out of life, you can have it. I'm going to, I love talking about this. As you can see, I just get hyped up. I'm
Dude,
so passionate.
yeah.
This
I could not
podcast
have said
is
that better
10 hours
myself.
long.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love that. And you know what, too? I think a lot of people do think that, and it's sad. And when we're younger, we're taught to like color inside the lines, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to get in line. Hey, like, don't do that, don't do this. This is how you need to act. And I think a lot of people, especially people I know, they'll be like, I'm not that special compared to someone else that is doing well. Even your mentor, Keaton or the Muscle. I think I've heard him say, he's like, dude, I'm not smart.
Yep.
Like, really? Like him, he's living this crazy lifestyle that anyone could look up to, and he'll tell you, he's like, I'm not smart, like I'm not the smartest one in the
Yep.
room, whatever. But I think there's just something to say about that. Like, we all have that potential, no matter your background, your circumstances. Like, even you, I feel like, you have the excuses not to be active or not to go out on your own and like start a business, but you really put your head down and got to it.
Yep. And with that, I think another big lie that a lot of people tell themselves is they think that success is so far away, or the life that they want is so far away. But honestly, it's really not. Like, in 6 months, in just a year, you can completely change your life around. I mean, I went from a year ago, I was going through a divorce, I was overweight, I had spent all my money because I was, my vices were spending money and overeating and all these things. So I didn't have a lot of money. I was going through divorce. My relationships weren't good. My relationship with God and my family was awful. My business wasn't doing very well because I wasn't doing well in any of those aspects. But here I am just a year later, and all those are, they obviously, everything can be better and be more, but I couldn't ask for anything more. Like, everything is going how I wanted it to, just a short year later. People think it's going to come in 10, 20 years, but if you put your head down and you want it, you can have results very, very quickly with whatever you want.
I believe that. And like you were saying, dude, we all hold the pens of our story.
Yep.
Like people will say that. I think that's so important. Like, imagine you're watching, a movie It's like you're the superhero and you write the script, man. Like whatever happens next, you're writing that script.
Yep.
Um, so I love this. I mean, I get really passionate about this too. And as we wrap up, I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time, but for people watching this that might feel like they're in a rut, what is it that they can work on, or what are some of the tactical things that you think would be important? Like is it going out and starting a business? Is it go to the gym? Like what kinds of things do you think are important?
I think it's two things. I think it starts with just stacking the small wins every single day. And then the second thing is I think it's you just have to be honest with yourself. Where are you at now? Where do you want to get to? A very awesome speaker, Dan Clark, talked about this. Is like if you're ordering an Uber and you lie about where you're at, where your pickup spot is, there's no way you're going to get to your destination. It's the
Mm.
same thing with us as humans. If we lie about where we're at, there's no way we're going to get to where we want to get to. If we lie about where we're at with our finances or our relationships or our fitness, there's no way we're going to be able to change and get better. So I think it's being honest with the man in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, what does your mind and body instantly tell yourself? Do you like the way that you look in the mirror? Do you like the person and respect the person and love the person that's looking back at you? Do you like how your finances are? Do you like how your relationships are? Like instantly you can just look in the mirror and know the things that you need to change. And then it's just a matter of changing those things every single day. And it can start with something very small, those small wins, like I was talking about. It's just waking up when you say you're going to wake up, going to the gym when you say you're going to go to the gym, doing the sets and the reps that you're supposed to do at the gym. And then and for a lot of people, going out and starting your own business may not be the best thing for you. A lot of people aren't born and wired or even want to be entrepreneurs, but there's a lot of intrapreneurs that are in there to work in a business and help build the community and help build the business. They don't necessarily have to be the business owner. So even if you're working for someone else, go and do the best damn job that you can. Do is provide so much value that you become irreplaceable, um, and that's going to come back tenfold with everything that you're trying to do. So stack those small wins. Um, set a If you don't read, set a goal to read 10 or 20 minutes a day and do that. So that's something I still do every single day. I have it right over here. I have what I need to do throughout the day, and that's a lot of small wins. It's just eat my 225 grams of protein. It's go to the gym. It's read for 20 minutes. It's pray, all these small things. And every day I can go through and I stack those small wins. At the end of the day, I look at what I did and I'm like, all right, I followed through with those things. And that's what builds consistency. It starts building those wins. You start building confidence. Confidence, people don't have self confidence or self worth. It's just because they're not following through with the promises that you're making with yourself. That's the only way. Confidence isn't from the outside, it comes from within. So if you follow through with the things that you say you're going to follow through with, the confidence is going to build up. The wins are going to start stacking, and your life is just going to start evolving just by doing that.
Boom. I love that. Yeah, that's powerful. I think that's true 100%. Like, even though
Yeah.
there might be a huge gap between where you're at now and where you want to be, I cannot agree more with what you're saying, man.
Yeah,
But
and dude,
yeah,
that's I don't know if you need to go, but I love this.
no,
I got
no,
some
I'm not
friends.
trying to rush it either. I just want to respect your time too, man.
No,
This is good stuff.
no, I'm good. I love this. It's seriously my passion of just I may be a dumbass with whatever I'm saying, but it's what's worked for me, and I hope it can work for someone else. What you said there too, I think that's a big problem with people that get started with any sort of personal development or business development is they see the end goal and they think that it's so far away. I was speaking on stage with Andy Stump, who's a Navy SEAL, just a complete badass. And he was an instructor for Hell Week. And he was talking about, I can't imagine how hard Hell Week would be. They get 2 hours of sleep in like 5 days. Um, and as instructors, they do everything that they can to get as many people to quit, because they need those elite few. And so when he went through Hell Week for himself, he had a mentor or someone else that had already gone through Hell Week and gave him some advice. He said, just make it to the next meal, because meals came every 6 hours. And he said, if you can just make it to the next meal, you're going to make it to when the sun goes down. And when the sun goes down, the sun is going to come up. So don't think about making it because I think it starts on a Monday and it goes until Friday. It's like, don't even think about Friday. Just think about the next meal. The cliche saying of how to eat a well, it's one bite at a time. He also shared a story of a domino. It starts super small, but it's able to knock down stuff that's like 1.5 times its size. So starting out as a domino by I'm going to probably slaughter these numbers, but I think it's like by the 36th domino, it could knock down the Empire State Building or
Wow.
or something that big. I can't remember exactly what it is, or it's as tall as like Mount Everest or something crazy. Anyways, it's the concept of going from something really small to getting something, knocking down something super big. And that's a problem I see with a lot of the guys that I mentor is they think that success is so far away that it almost paralyzes them. They get stuck in the analysis paralysis. They freeze. But what I tell everyone is just take it one day at a time. Just one day. What can you do today to get closer to your end goal? What can you do today to better your life tomorrow? Um, because if you win the day, you win the week. If you win the week, you win the month. If you win the month, you win the year. And you just start stacking that. If you can win the day, win the week, win the month, win the year, you're going to win your life. And it all starts with today. You know,
Amen.
the Muscle always talks about if you're worrying about if you have one foot in the past, one foot in yesterday, and one foot in tomorrow, you're going to be pissing away today. Everyone pisses away today. They're always thinking about the past. They're always thinking about tomorrow. If we can just do everything we can to focus on today, do all that is in our control to get to where we want to get to, all you have to do is just do that the next day and do it one more day and then do another day. If at the end of the day, when you look at all this, it's we've talked about a lot on this call, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just doing the shit you don't want to do day in and day out. If you do not quit, results are almost guaranteed. The only way to fail is to quit.
I love that. Yeah, Alex Hormozy says that too. He's like,
Mm,
if you actually stick with it, it's really hard to suck at something that you just put
yeah.
your effort into, right?
Yep. Like
And
if
I
you look
love
at
what you're saying too.
yeah. Well, sorry, I cut you off because I talk
No,
so
no,
much.
I love it. That's what you're here for, bro.
Like if you look at Andy Frisella, dude, I love his story because in I can't remember in 10 years they made a combined total of like $56,000 in a 10-year span in
Yeah,
first
when he
form.
started selling supplements, huh?
Yep.
Hmm.
10 years to only make $56,000 in those 10 years. I think the first 2 or 3 years I just listened to his podcast, they didn't profit anything, nothing. But he stuck with it. I mean, he kept showing up every single day, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And it just goes to show that if you just stick with it, if you do everything that you can, if you control what's in your power and control what you can control, whether you just want to whether if it's just you want a better relationship with your family or you want to better your finances or you want to better your health, you want to better your fitness, whatever it is, just stick with it and you'll
Yeah.
get exactly what you want out of life.
Absolutely. And it reminds me of hearing about like elite personal trainers when they take on new clients and the clients think, oh, they're gonna just kill me in the gym today. This is gonna be terrible. It's like, nope, you just show up and like we have a short workout and that's it. They're like, that's it. It's like, yeah. You just need to start forming this habit. Like you're saying, dude, it's a
Yep.
snowball effect. Like you start
Yep.
winning, these small wins will help you, and then that will transform into, the bigger victories, right?
Yep. There like a story of, there could be two people that are wanting to lose weight. Say they're both 400 pounds and they both want to get down to 200 pounds. They start for a week and they each just say they only lose 1 pound, right? It's all about perspective. One of them can look at it and say, oh my gosh, I still have 199 pounds to go. While the other person could look at it and say, oh yeah, I already lost 1 pound. I just need to lose another, right? And that person is the one that's going to win. That's the person that's going to make it till the end. And that's a whole nother topic that I could get on that brings up perspective,
Yeah, the mindset.
um, the mindset of that. But
Yeah, it's a marathon too. I've had to learn that. You can't just like sprint for
yeah,
a short period of time. And I think you've probably learned that too in everything that you've accomplished. Like it's the long run.
Yep. And what I tell my guys cold calling, and a lot of students, it's like it's not the 10-hour days. It's not the 12-hour days that matter. If you just go and do a few 10-hour days, 12-hour days, you're going to get burnout. It's not a sprint, exactly like you said. It's about the 3 or 4 hour days, even the 2 hour days, but every single day, day in and day out, week after week, month after month, that's what counts. And I'll say it, every single student that I have that I coach wholesaling real estate to, if they stick with it and they just do not quit, they make more money than they ever even thought was imaginable. Ever. The only people that don't make money that I coach are the ones that give up. That's
Wow.
it, plain and simple. And it's just the same thing with the gym. The only people that look the way they want to look are the ones that keep going. And that's the rule for everything in life.
Especially when you don't feel like it.
Oh boy,
Oh,
and that's where when motivation lacks, the discipline has to kick in.
100%
Yep,
comes from within.
it does.
Dude, I could not agree any more with the stuff that you're saying. I
Awesome.
appreciate you, man. And for people listening, where can they find you too? Where can they come look at the content that you're putting out and stuff like that? Where are you at?
Yeah, so right now, just on Instagram, Noah Johnston, NoahJohnston. That's where I'm at right now. In the future, gonna get into YouTube and stuff like that. But I've it's the shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
I've learned that I start juggling too many things and I lose focus on stuff. So I'll get there eventually, but right now, just focus on Instagram to get my content out there.
I love that. Dude, I
Yeah,
cannot thank you enough for coming on. Your time is valuable, and I think there's been some really good things that have come from this. So just thank you.
awesome. Dude, thank you for the opportunity. Like, I'm so extremely grateful for opportunities like this. It's my biggest passion. So thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks for tuning in too. This has been special. Stay tuned. So awesome. Yeah, go give Noah a follow. It's pretty cool seeing what he's up to.
Awesome. Thanks, my
So,
man. And give
all
this
right,
guy a
guys.
follow. He's doing some awesome stuff on with what he's doing. So give him a follow as well.
Thank you. All right, guys. Until next time.